Hello, welcome back to the 11 Step Meditation Foundations course. We're covering Step 2 in meditation, and the final section on Step 2 is Came to Believe. We've already reviewed the first section that we covered, which was Restore Me to Sanity, and we discovered that the insanity that from our perspective in Step 2 isn't just the crazy things that we did, but it's our perception that we're separate and alone, and when we're actually interconnected with our higher power at all times. And so in meditation, we can practice this interconnection to our higher power, and that really restores us to sanity and wholeness and corrects our perception. And then in the next section, we covered a power greater than ourselves, and we explored what our higher power looks like for us and started to help evolve that and how we can practice that in meditation, and also what our higher power is not. And so we can kind of forget those qualities that we don't like. We can practice being in the presence of our higher power. We can practice having the qualities of our higher power for ourselves in our lives. And the more we practice these in meditation, the more they become who and what we are. And now we're covering Came to Believe. And it's the first phrase in Step 2, but it symbolizes really the beginning of a journey for me, discovering our relationship with ourselves and the rest of the world, and also how can we practice coming to believe with intention. How can we use these phrases, these affirmations in meditation that can really help us change, and why they do that. Okay, so there are several ways that we achieve this coming to believe. One is a principle that we hear in the rooms all the time, acting as if principle, and specific techniques to practice that in meditation. Actions can help change our thinking. And sometimes in meditation, a thought is an action. So we're going to be using the affirmations as actions, and we're going to structure them so they help us change. And then knowing through experiencing. We don't know what we don't know until we experience it. So the more that we practice meditation, the more that we work the steps in our program outside of meditation, the more we go to meetings and we experience life and change. And when we walk through something hard, then we know that we can do that. And when we practice things in meditation, we're actually experiencing them, and that's another way that we can come to know them. And then we're going to talk about actively exploring new aspects of ourselves and how to look at our spiritual journey with our higher power. So came to believe with intentions. Earlier in the course, we listened to Wayne Dyer. He's one of my favorite authors. And he had a book called Power of Intention, Learning to Co-Create Your World Your Way. And he communicates things really well. There's a lot of research and studies about the power of intention. We are what we think. When we think a thought, our brain transmits that thought through chemicals to our body, through energy to the world around us. So we have to be really careful what we're thinking. But if we do it on purpose and have structured positive thoughts, that can help us change in a positive way. So when we're connected to this power of intention, and what is intention? Intention is a thought with force and energy behind it. As Wayne says here, it's not something you do, but rather it's a force that exists in the universe, higher power, as an invisible field of energy, a power that can carry us. Some call this source God or soul or spirit of consciousness. So when we have an intended thought and we put energy behind it and we focus on it, that intention will help change us in miraculous ways. And then another one of the authors that I like that's doing a lot of research in this, Lynn McTaggart, she wrote a book called The Field, which is gathering evidence of this great unifying force in the universe that scientists are calling the field, the quantum field, the unified field theory. You can call it higher power and God, and whatever we are choosing to name it. This is, I think, what they are studying. They're learning more and more how it works. And here she says that we aren't separated from our environment. We are part of it. The universe, the field, is a living consciousness, and we can interact with it. And more we can do that on purpose with our thoughts and in prayer and meditation. And we can use that to heal ourselves in the world, which is really amazing. So I'd like to pause for a moment. I'd like to share this video of Lynn McTaggart that talks about the field and the intention experiments that she's been doing and the power of it.
So the first experiment we ran in London, and we had a leaf, and we had a control leaf. And we sent intention just to change those little light emissions, to make the thing glow, because we felt that would be the easiest way for people to imagine it. Make it glow. The next week, Gary calls me up. He says, "You won't believe this. There's so much glowing effect on this leaf that there's a neglect effect for the other leaf. The other leaf is darker than usual. This one is glowing." Now, when we say glowing, we mean glowing according to his equipment, CCD cameras. You couldn't see this with the naked eye, but you can see it with the naked eye with photos. I can't show them to you because we're publishing the study, and scientific journals insist on publishing all the data first. So now we've run 3 germination experiments, and we just ran one with my group on Thursday. And with this, we've tried to send intention to make seeds grow a bit faster. And we had 3 other sets of seeds. And we found, when Gary did the analysis with special statistics, that all 3 so far, we don't have the results yet for Thursday, also had an effect. The seeds sprouted much faster than the control seeds. How about that? In one case, it was 100 people in Rhinebeck, New York, sending intention to the seeds in the University of Arizona. Just 100 people. And we had a giant significant effect. That's what they were like. We just sent intention to some seeds like that. And our intention was very specific, for them to sprout at least 3 inches by the 4th day of growing. It's always important to be very specific with intention. We now know that intention is what they call coherent, which is another way of saying it's well-ordered light. And once again, Gary, with his equipment, with his special, very sensitive CCD cameras, has actually photographed light coming out of the dominant hands of healers. We know from all the amazing evidence that has been amassed by people like Dean Radin and Marilyn Schlitz. And Marilyn I also want to honor because she was one of the first people out there to do direct mental influence on living systems. The first person, among the first people to do really good studies of how mind affects other living systems. But there have been studies showing that we can affect everything from machinery to single-cell studies to full-fledged human beings. Many thousands of studies. That's why I have to laugh when people talk about there being no evidence. Somebody said that the field was based on Star Wars, nothing more than Star Wars. And I wanted to send them those 50 pages of notes and bibliography and say, tell me that this is science fiction. We know from a lot of studies that it's actually a something. You know that phrase, a thought is a thing. More properly, we should be saying a thought is a thing that affects other things because it's affecting things at every moment. It's an energy we've actually been able to measure.
Okay, so we've learned a little bit about intentions and the power of intentions to affect things inside us and outside of us from Lynn. This is why we use in this into action type of meditation, 11-step meditation, when we're working with each step, we're using intentions to try to help affect the spiritual action of the step that we're doing. And we use specific affirmations as mantras in the meditation. And so it gives us an object to focus our attention, help us concentrate, but also it shapes our inner intentions and helps remap our brains, helps change our outer world, changes our thinking habits, and helps to heal whatever we need to heal in ways that we can't imagine that need to be healed. It's pretty amazing for me. And so as we can learn to communicate our intentions throughout our body, our mind, and to those around us and to the universe. And I just love this quote from the Bible that goes along with this, those 2,000 years ago. Give and gifts will be given to you. Good measure, packed together, shaken down, and overflowing will be poured into your lap. For the measure with which you measure will in return be measured out to you. So we can take this as thoughts, and our intentions can be what we're giving, what we are measuring, and so that will be measured out to us. Very powerful. I wanted to go through this section because we are doing a lot of affirmations, and as we work each step, we will be doing different types of affirmations and heal the things that each step is trying to heal. And knowing through experiencing, I want to show from different perspectives what meditation is doing. And I love this quote by James Finley, who's a meditation teacher. And he wrote a book, Christian Meditation, Experiencing the Presence of God. Very powerful. And he states that meditation is a way of slowing down so as to descend into the depths of yourself in the present moment, where God lies waiting to grant you a deep experience of your internal oneness with God. It's amazing. God is in the present moment. And if we get quiet and can get there, then God has wonderful things in store for us to experience. So part of the came to believe is the work part of it. And this is what I call the 5 Ps of the 11-step meditation practice. It does take effort, a continual effort, just of working our program, going to meetings, doing the right things, being of service. And in this, and we can apply this specifically to the 11-step meditation process, are these 5 Ps: persistence. Keep trying. Don't give up. It may not seem like there's progress. Keep doing it because you are making progress. Meditation is not a quick fix thing, even though we have a nice feeling after we meditate. But the long-term healing that you get from it is amazing. And be patient. Okay, sometimes when you sit down to meditate, our thoughts are going crazy. It's been a hard day and it feels like it's hard to quiet our thoughts. But I found that when I meditate, when my mind is really busy and I stick through it and I don't give up and I do that 20 or 30 minutes that I set as a goal, I'm probably getting more healing from persisting through that and being patient with myself than if I'm having that quiet Zen-like meditation where everything's flowing and I'm getting in that spot that we're all always searching for to find because I stuck with it. Meditation, they call it 11-step meditation practice. We're always practicing. No matter what stage you are in your recovery and your meditation practice, it's always practicing. We're going in and we're exploring and we're learning new things and we're going to new levels in meditation. We have to continue a practice just like we would practice a sport. Anything we practice, we have to study it and work hard at it and keep doing it over and over. And I put perseverance in here because it's so much like persistence. You have to keep trying that it needs to be said twice here. 2 different words. Persistence and perseverance. I'm going to keep trying at this even when I don't want to because it works when you work it. And presence. Just how James Finley put it. We are practicing being in the presence of our higher power. The more we can practice being in that presence, the more we are in that presence. And after we practice a while, then we'll ultimately hit that conscious contact state that is mentioned in the 11th step. And this quote from Ram Dass, which you've probably read while I was talking, is very good. So it talks to this. At first, meditation will bring you highs and a little relief from suffering. But later you'll hit a plateau and you may be bored or discouraged or even negative. This is when you will need not only faith but the persistence. You'll need all the 5 Ps to keep going. Don't quit. Keep doing it. It's worth it. Just another quote that supports this. We rejoice in our sufferings. Don't run from them, knowing that this suffering produces endurance, and the endurance will give us character, and character produces hope. And we experience the presence of our higher power in all these things if we realize that we are always interconnected. We practice this in meditation. So in this meditation, the second meditation that we're doing in step 2, we're gonna do the other sections. We're gonna do the controlled breathing. We're gonna count our breaths like we did, the rhythm of 4. We're gonna focus on our heart center so we can activate our heart, and which will help change our brain because our heart has the neural muscles. So if we breathe through the heart and focus on our heart, that will help us change those brain patterns. And we'll also try to go back and identify an early time in our lives that was traumatic that we can remember. So we'll do more. This is almost a little working the steps in the future, but I want to practice this in step 2 because that early trauma that hardwired our brains to protect ourselves. in our lives we call them tools for living, but then later we learn that they're actually defects and we need to overcome them. So we can practice that now as we're practicing all these different techniques for step 2. Let's find one that you can recall that may have had a big impact on you early on, and we can practice healing this in meditation. So take a few minutes as I'm talking and wrapping this up. Think about something that you want to heal in the past. When I was writing this, and this is on the second step CD that I produced, I have a picture of my mother with her mother, my grandmother, and her mother, my great grandmother, all sitting on the couch. And I'm sitting there as a toddler, probably about 1 year old. And these women, none of them look happy. I can just sense the tension in the room by looking at the photograph. And I have kind of this miserable look on my face, like, oh my gosh, it's too stressful for me. I can't handle it because as we know, we're putting off this energy. I focused on bringing God into that moment in my meditation. Think about a time early in your life that you want to bring healing to, and we'll practice that in this meditation. I want to share this map of consciousness that Dr. David Hawkins presented in his book, Power versus Force. Very powerful spiritual teacher and quite a story, and he talks about his efforts to get sober too. So not only is he a teacher and a spiritual teacher, an amazing scientist, he's also was sober and in the program. But he mapped this through a scientific way that he had to study this, and he logged. You can see the log column in here. It's kind of like an energy measurement, okay? The 20, 30, 50, 75. That's the amount of energy that is being put out at these different levels. And he has the different sections on way to measure this. So your view of higher power, the life view, kind of what level you're at, the emotion and process. And his contention in the book, Power versus Force, is until you get to the level of 200, the energy log of 200, you're really forcing things. So if I can imagine myself when I was out there and hitting my bottom, I was really forcing things, and I was vengeful, and I was denying, and I was angry, and I had hate, and I was scorn and craving, and all the emotions and perspectives down below. That was me. But as we get sober and we start to heal and we meditate and we do the steps, our energy level and our perspective, how we see things and our general emotion and the process that we're going through start to raise up. And as we get over to the 200 energy level to 250, 310, we're starting to put out more energy. We're connected to the power greater than ourself. That's what he means by power. Below or force, it's ego. Up above, it's higher power. And as you raise your perspective and along these lines, then we see spiritual growth. Now, he has these different levels mapped out like this. It may not always be perfect, but I'll include this slide that you can download it and take a look at it. I think it's fascinating, a good way to map, see where we're at, and see what you think you can work on in meditation and in our outer lives and our steps. Okay, and finally came to believe. I encourage you to be a spiritual explorer. You're taking this course. That's amazing. Not a lot of people are doing this. But you want to learn, you want to do that 11-step meditation exploration. Come to believe is the educational variety of spiritual experience. Learn, try different things. This is the only step that in the 12 and 12 in the big book that it suggests that we look for outside sources. This is the one step if we're strictly working our program and it says go look other places. Meditation and prayer and spirituality across the centuries. There's a lot of information. The world's libraries and places of worship are treasure trove for all seekers. And as I bring it into this course, that science is backing up all those centuries of spiritual teaching. And so it should be more evidence of why this is important. And then as you do this, you may find yourself drawn to the spiritual connection or your past or something new, to find a new community, to practice your spirituality. And you may find other books and other things and other practices, types of meditation that you want to explore. But this is become a spiritual explorer. And you're doing this in meditation. You can meditate, you can explore, but read 15 to 20 minutes at night before you go to bed. And they say the scientists, that whatever you're thinking about the last 15, 20 minutes before you sleep is something that your mind is going to ponder through the night. So let's feed it some positive things. Give it some really juicy stuff to think about, some spiritual stuff, some growth information, and get your mind working at night to help heal you. Here we go. We're going to do a second meditation on step 2. This one's going to be similar. It's going to start similar. Like I said, we're going to breathe through our heart center. We're going to count our breaths as a way to give us focus. We're going to detach and watch our thoughts float by, those unmanageable thoughts. We're not going to reach out and grab them. And if we do, we're going to forgive ourselves, let go, and then get back right back to the meditation. Intentions as a mantra, so you now know a little bit more information why they're important and how they really are helpful. And then we're going to combine this with visualization. We're going to visualize images and emotions as an inner creative tool, an energy package, a chemical and energy package that's going to heal us and spread the positivity out into the world around us. So we'll be creating that inner space. We'll practice being in the presence of our higher power. And we'll practice healing that moment of insanity in our past. This is the end of this section. Right below this video is a guided meditation. Go ahead and click and try your meditation. Hope you enjoy it. I will include the links to the map of consciousness, Dr. David Hawkins, below, as well as some of the source books. So if you want to do your spiritual exploration and read some of those books, I would encourage you to go out and buy them or download them and continue your educational variety of spiritual experience. Hope you enjoy the meditation.